Hi, I'm Kat, marketer turned brand storyteller,
And I'm Candace, educator turned entrepreneur.
and you're listening to
Not nice, clever.
We're two introverts who speak on stages around the country and work with top personal brands who also unapologetically require 24 to 48 hours of recovery time on the couch in our favorite sweats. All Netflix and no chill.
And to be clear, we're not quiet or nice. Together, we're redefining what it means to be an introvert who means business. It's time to show up and show off. Are you in? In today's episode of Not Nice Clever, we have the pleasure of having on Mary King, who is a writer, and she has a long background in the hospitality industry. She is just an all around amazing human. She used to live in California, is now living in Vermont, and she got into some manifesting stuff. She got into just the vibes are on point, y'all. We went places that we had no idea we were going. So if you are a small business owner, you're going to want to listen to this episode to get her tips on how to grow your business and how to use something called brain spotting. If you don't know, you will now know. Let's dive in. Mary, we are so excited to have you on. Tell us what's one thing that you cannot shut up about right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, my partner could tell you that I can't shut up about this. I am really obsessed right now with all of the regulations that the FTC and different states are trying to put on small businesses, especially restaurants. I don't know if you've heard about California State Bill 478. It's basically akin to what the FTC is trying to do right now with the proposed rule for junk fees, which sounds great, right? Like we all are like, junk fees, get rid of them, we hate them. But it's catching up independent small businesses in this dragnet of like service fees and little incidental admin fees, special event fees, things that small businesses have been charging for eons are getting caught up in this junk fee bill. And so you're kind of creating rules for little mom and pops and independent entrepreneurs to have to adhere to these rules that are really designed for massive corporations like airlines. And there's really no guidance. I've been really following this California bill since it was passed in October because the FTC is also trying to create a rule very similar. And it's supposed to go into effect July 1st. And nobody can tell these independent restaurants if they can charge service fees or if they have to build them all into their menu prices. It's a super granular thing. So I understand why my partner is like, I've heard enough about the fees, Mary.
But it's going to impact a lot of people and
Yeah.
their businesses and their employees and all of it.
Well, and as an entrepreneur too, you don't really have the bandwidth to keep track of all of these rules that are changing all of the time. You're working in your business. That's why you started your own business. And
Yeah.
especially in restaurants, you're owning a restaurant, you're working in your restaurant usually 70, 80 hours a week. And then all of a sudden, you're going to get this notice that, oh, hey, you have to completely change how you price everything. You have to build everything into the menu price. And it's like, well, how much can I possibly charge? It's creating a lot of problems.
No, I see this at the hyper local level where I am in Washington, D.C., oddly enough, because the local residents passed a bill that increased the hourly wage of servers who were typically paid at a much lower rate because their tips made up for their hourly. And what ended up happening was restaurants were forced to increase their menu prices and pass that on to the consumer. And then guests are getting upset about the food not being priced and held to its value when in the meantime, they were the ones who voted for this bill. They just didn't realize the unintended consequences.
Yes.
And I mean, you guys know this podcast is called Not Nice Clever. We are not nice about the things we stand for, but also we want it to have a purpose and a meaning and to be practical for people, right? Not just in theory, but actually in practice. And so, I mean, Mary, before we hopped on today, we were talking about like our shared level of hospitality and our background. And I've seen it firsthand with my hubs, Will, in operating his restaurant, how challenging it can be. And it's frustrating. I can see why it's like one thing you can't really shut up about. And your partner is like, okay, Mary, we get it.
Right. Yeah. He's like, we live in the middle of nowhere in New England. Like,
Mhm.
this is not our world anymore. But I'm steeped in it all the time, talking with small business owners and writing advice for small business owners and trying to find, ways to navigate these things. And sometimes you just want to flip a table, be like, what is this? And I love, though, that so many of the people passing these laws don't even know what they don't know. And then the law passes or the rule changes, and suddenly they're like, oh, just like you said, like, oh, we didn't mean for that to happen. And it's like, well, you should have talked
Done
to
your
people. You should have
homework.
asked some questions.
So talk to us because you mentioned that you give advice to small businesses. Talk to us about how you got into that because that's a very niche profession and you have the background in hospitality. What was that transition like?
Well, I started out being born really bossy.
We love
So,
that.
yeah, I went to college for literature. I studied writing and books. And then afterwards, I started working in hospitality pretty much right out of college.
Mhm.
And I was naturally a very shy person. And I had kind of no idea what I was doing, but I had also been a theater kid. So I had a deep love for a script. And so I was looking around sort of constantly in my first few hospitality jobs for like a script. How does this all work? How does it all fit together? And I was managing pretty quickly in restaurants
The
and
bossy
writing
vibes
the
coming
bossy
through.
vibes, putting all the pieces together, writing a lot of training manuals and SOPs. And I really wanted to teach other people how to do, once I figured it out, I wanted to teach everybody else how to do it. And I managed restaurants for about 15 years. And I worked with a lot of, they're all independent small owners,
Mhm.
businesses, and you see so much. You see so many pain points. You see so many problems. You see how different people have worked through things. And so much of the advice on the internet for small business owners is not actually written by small business owners
Mm.
or by people who have direct experience with small businesses. And small businesses are not just a large business on a small scale. It's the pain points are different, the bandwidth is different, the passion people are willing to put into their business is different. These are survival mode moments for owners. When I have seen a small business owner have to close a business, it is painstaking.
Mhm.
And when you see the same thing happen on a corporate level, people just move on. So I have a deep, deep passion for small business owners. And I have several siblings who own their own businesses as well. And I definitely advise them a lot.
Probably without their consent, right?
Sometimes with their consent, sometimes not.
Unsolicited advice is part of my brand.
Yes,
I get it.
you know what I've learned as far as loving a script is I have learned to say, well, listen, if it were me, this is what I would
Mhm. Takes the pressure off of them, but then they're still like, "No, wait a second. Hey."
Yeah, it still got in there, like, that seed has been planted, and if 3 months down the road, my sister is like, "Oh, yeah, I discovered this great company for processing payments," and it's like, "That was the one I mentioned 3 months ago, that's fine."
Yeah, that's a W. We'll keep it between us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I really got into writing small business advice for small business owners through my passionate support for small business owners.
Mhm.
And a company, Fit Small Business, reached out to me in 2019 and said, hey, oh, I had a blog. I wrote a blog about restaurant management called Where the Side Work Ends.
Oh, I love that
Ooh,
name
yeah, me too. Bring back a little Shel Silverstein.
because it never fucking ends. That's
Yes.
the funny
It
thing.
never ends. It never ends. Nobody ever wants to do it either.
No, they don't. They make their closing server do it or their closing manager. And also the Shel Silverstein reference. Candace, I didn't even put that together. That's so clever.
Oh, yeah.
So I wrote that for several years from 2011. I
Mhm.
started writing that. And then in
Wow.
2019, Fit Small Business reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking for someone to write what you write for our website. And having come
Can we
from,
put a pause real quick? Because one thing that we are like
Seriously.
drilling into our Clever Crew's head is creating content, putting your ideas out in the world, developing thought leadership so that you can attract the exact right people for you.
Mhm.
Because that's how collaborations are possible by putting yourself out there. Just this is for me and for the Clever Crew. Mary, did you feel extremely qualified when you wrote your first blog post?
absolutely not.
You didn't have a PhD in making
No.
blogs and having thousands of impressions on Google?
Did someone tell you that you are worthy? Did someone say you are worthy of this role of putting out this article, Mary?
No, no, I just kind of
Right.
had to say it. They were
Ooh,
things that I felt
Yeah.
like I had to say,
yes.
and there was no place to say them, so I was, you know, WordPress.com, here we go.
You created your own little spot on the interwebs to share your thoughts and your
Yes.
experiences, and that is how all of this is
That's how
possible.
shit happens. That's how
Yes,
we got here on this episode today. And also, just casually, you ran a blog from 2011 to 2019, 8 years of
I did.
consistency. And Mary, you might not know this yet, but now you will. Now you're officially a part of the Clever Crew family forever. We have the Clever Crew Credo. And the statement around marketing is that if you have something of value to say, you speak it and you say it.
Yes.
And that
Yes,
was
you
what you
have to.
did. You
You
have to,
absolutely
right?
have to. And everyone take a minute, take a breath and think about something that you know that you did not learn in school. Nobody taught you. You know
Ooh.
it. Start there. Everyone has these things.
Mhm.
And if you ask yourself that question, what
Amen.
do I know that nobody taught me? Even if it's just something I believe to be true, start there. You have a kernel. And the other thing I will say about content is creating content is a process of revision. It does not come out perfect the first time.
Mm.
You have to revise it and you have to think about it, but also don't be so precious
Ooh.
about your content.
Yes.
Like take a
Oh
Yes.
minute.
my gosh, Mary, don't be so precious.
Don't be so precious. Think about making pancakes, right? It's the first pancake. There's going to be a first
Oh, yeah, there's
pancake.
always a reject pancake.
Yeah.
Several in my
Yes.
case, burnt. They're all black.
They're just as delicious on the inside.
Oh, Mary, preach.
And also it's a if you're writing for the internet or you're putting it on social or something like that, you can always delete it later. Like put it
Literally.
out there, get it out there. And
Mm.
if later that's not like you're like, that's not my vibe anymore, update it.
Or maybe you literally just update it. You're like, "Hey, this is the
Mhm.
2024 version of what," because what I thought last year is not the same thing as I think this year, right? Like, we're all going through an evolution.
That is my favorite. One of my personal mantras, Mary, is I reserve the right to change my mind at any time for any reason. Period.
Yes,
With a
and you
T.
should.
Yeah.
I liken that. I connect that to curiosity because if you're curious, you're always finding new answers and new solutions and new information. I'm a very curious person, and I have a 22-month-old who I thought I was curious.
Oh,
He
no.
is a whole different level, curious about everything. And you know, when you approach something from curiosity, you're going to find new information. So yeah, update. Like, get curious about something, you've got a bee in your bonnet,
Mhm.
you've got a question you don't have an answer to, do some research. Like, write a post, create a post, put it out there, update it later. Get curious.
I love it.
So, Mary, I'm curious now. Thank you. Which, by the way, Mary, when is your birthday? Candace, you knew I was going to ask this the moment she said curious.
I'm a Cancer, July
Okay,
13th.
I know
July
it's coming.
13th. All right, we love it. I wonder if there's some Gemini in your chart fueling that curiosity.
Oh, my son is a Gemini.
Oh boy. Oh, strap
Yeah, so
in.
talk about
Okay.
curiosity.
Yeah, that's there we go. All right. I'm also a Gemini. That's why I'm like, Godspeed to you for raising the next generation. I'm curious. So, one thing that we see our clever crew ask, and that it's always their North Star, is understanding what their goals and what their definition of success is, right? Because that's the larger vision, the target we're moving toward that keeps us focused as we do the day to day things. So, for you, when you were a restaurant manager, what was your definition of success then versus what it is now as a really successful writer that writes for multiple brands? How has it evolved over time?
When I was deep in hospitality, I was mostly working in fine dining and mostly working with, I had this sort of bingo card of chef owners that I wanted to work with.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
I got to a point in my career where I was like, I only want to work with women. I only want to work with women chefs. I've worked with a lot of award winning male chefs. I want to work with women chefs.
Mhm.
And I did that and they were amazing. And I wanted to get our cocktails and our recipes in magazines. And I wanted to book the biggest parties, and I wanted to have a step and repeat red carpet out in front of the restaurant at least once a
Ooh,
year.
yeah.
I had all of these very status driven goals, very externally motivated status
Mm,
driven goals. And I have shifted to really think more holistically about not just, life is not work. Work is important, and
mhm,
work can be your passion. It's wonderful when your passion and your work coincide. But for me, success is about having the life you want to live and whatever you need to do that enables that. And so, I was working in Los Angeles at some very high profile restaurants for 12 years. And then in 2019, my partner and I moved to Vermont, and we live in the middle of nowhere, and we have this big rambling. The dream became in 2015, kind of on a joke, was like, what if we just lived in a rambling farmhouse in New England? And we got the New England and we have the rambling acreage now.
mhm.
But it's a cape. It's not a farmhouse. What are
Okay.
you gonna do?
You mostly got it right. You mostly manifested it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, that's
Now I just
amazing.
need to manifest the vegetable garden, which
Mm,
I need to be planting right now.
Oh, yeah, it's coming.
But yeah, it's I think it's unique for everyone, and it does evolve, right?
mhm.
Yes. And it's okay that it evolves, and it doesn't mean that where you were 12 years ago or the things that you defined as success were wrong in any way. Like all of that brought you here. And that's so important.
Yeah, and I think it's can sometimes be
I love it.
when you're especially in an entrepreneurial place and you're looking at starting a business, running your own business, we can think so big and we can define success as something so far away from our grasp. And one of my favorite things to mention when I'm, talking to friends who are or siblings who are starting a business
Mhm.
is,
Hey, sis, this is for you.
hey, it's for you if you're listening.
Subtly.
Can you make it smaller? How small can you make this idea?
Mm.
Like, what's the smallest bite that you can take at this?
We call it the next right step. What's the
Yes.
next right step? And then can we celebrate that thing when we hit
Yes,
it? Whatever
absolutely.
that is?
Yes,
Yeah. Because we don't need to be in Forbes today,
No.
but what's the next right step that can one day lead us to that path, right?
absolutely.
It's so important. And my husband and I are both entrepreneurs and business owners, and we were both just like, we're very driven. One thing that brought us together is the fact that we set big goals. It's like part of who we are, and we are always on to the next thing. Like once we hit that, it's like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And yesterday he was telling me that he hit a milestone in his business, and so he was like, okay, so next we're gonna do XYZ. I was like, wait, no,
Hold, please.
stop right here, hold please. Yeah, like, one thing that I would like for us to do better is to celebrate the small, not the small things. It was a big thing. It was a big
Mhm.
deal. But I want to like sit in the celebratory moment for a minute
Mhm.
and be like, "Damn, you did that, babe. Like that thing that you've been working on for 4 months, like
4
really freaking
months.
hard.
Yeah.
Like you hit it and like sooner than you expected." And instead of being like, "Here's the next thing," like just be like, "Damn, I'm a badass. Like I'm fucking awesome," you know? And
Amazing.
and I feel like we're both guilty of not celebrating
Mhm.
and just being like, "There's so much more work to do," or "There's so much more,"
Which will always be
instead
true,
of
but
yeah, which is always gonna be true. But so I love that you are making it smaller
mhm.
without sacrificing.
Yeah. I love that you are taking the time to celebrate those small, medium, big wins
Mhm.
because it's actually so good for those moments when things get hard to take those that time to celebrate and not just, have a toast, things like that, but what it feels like in your body when
Mm.
you've finished something, when you've achieved something. If you can take that and put it really like I'm going to sound very Southern California woo here.
We're all California girls on this
Okay,
call,
great.
so and yes, let's lean in.
So, are you familiar at all with brain spotting or EMDR?
No.
Okay.
No.
So,
Please, yeah, enlighten us. Yeah, we wanna
yes.
know. Yeah.
So, this is a therapeutic psychological modality. They use it a lot for people who have performance anxiety or chronic PTSD, things like that.
Mhm.
Basically, it has found that when we have these big emotions and big feelings, they do correspond to points in our brain. And you'll start seeing this now whenever you interview anyone on your podcast. When people go into a storytelling mode, you'll notice frequently that our eyes rest like on a certain spot as we're telling a specific story when someone's really in the zone. And that usually corresponds to a place in their mind, in their brain, where that memory is cached. And so if you can access that right, there's a lot of potential to heal triggers and things like that. But
Mm.
there's another aspect to it that's a more positive spin on brain spotting, which is resource spots. So when you have those big wins and you have those big moments, you can feel it in your body. And there is a way that you can tap into that energy later. If you remember where
Mm.
you store what success feels like, not
Mm.
just emotionally, but what it
Like
feels
your
like.
vibration, like in your blood flow,
Yes.
your
Mhm.
muscles, your like posture, all of that.
Yes. If you
Ooh.
like your ears tingle when you just had a big win.
Mm.
So when you're having a low moment and you're having a tough time, can you make your ears tingle? Can you stop for a minute and let yourself get into that body feeling again? Because that can be a resource for you later. So that's so great that you're already taking that time to celebrate those moments because this is not for the faint-hearted. Like starting a
Right.
business, running a
We're a
business,
bit
you have
masochistic, to
hard
be
times.
honest, but like we enjoy it and it's the path we've chosen. But yeah,
Yes.
agreed.
So, like, take those moments, have those resources. When this is getting so personal, but my son was a very difficult delivery. It was a difficult experience. There was something, I had a liver problem that popped up
Mm.
right after I hit term. So they were very concerned. We had to get him out. I'm in Vermont. We were thinking, oh, we're going to have this
Home birth
beautiful
with the
home
midwife,
birth. Yes, I
burning
had midwives lined
sage.
up.
Yeah. Nope.
It was going to be, quiet, all of this stuff. And they're like, we're going to have to do a C-section.
Wow.
And I had been doing hypnobirthing. I'd been working with those ideas, and so I had created a resource in my mind, and this sounds so I feel so ridiculous even saying this, but it absolutely worked.
No,
No, no,
what? We
no,
love this.
no. Okay, one of our pillars is manifesting, by the way. One of our pillars at Dot
Great.
Nice Cover,
Yes.
we are digging this.
Okay, great.
It's called our 4 pillars
Mhm.
are branding, marketing, money, and manifesting. And this is the perfect bringing it together for us. We love it.
We love it.
All
So
right, I'm loving the
the clever crew
manifesting.
loves it.
Yes. So I had a moment when we were in the hospital in the room and
Mhm.
things were getting a little tense. I dialed up my therapist and I was like, we need a quick session. And she was totally there for me. And we found my resource spot in my hospital room. And my partner literally got up on a chair and stuck a piece of like blue painter's tape on that resource spot. So
Oh
when
my
things started to
goodness.
feel scary,
Yeah.
I could remember like that's the spot. I look at that
Yeah.
spot and that's what coordinates externally with
Mhm.
my internal feeling of safety. And it completely worked. I didn't realize in the moment how much it worked, but my midwife, who's now become my friend,
Mhm.
was just afterwards, she was just saying, "Oh my gosh, Mary, like, I can't believe all of the things you dealt with
Yeah.
completely peacefully." And I thought, "Really? Was there any other option?" She's like, "Yeah, there are other options."
Drugs, freaking out, crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, I had been doing brain spotting for several years
Mhm.
Mhm.
before that. So I already knew about it as a resource, but like it really, really worked in that moment. I was like, I really need this. It was very clutch. And having that resource spot was excellent. And I can only imagine in those really tough moments when it's just like I could flip a table, I could walk away from this business immediately, like
Right.
taking the time, knowing what your resources are within you.
Mhm.
Like we're not talking about money.
Yep. You're out there building your personal brand and you also have a team relying on you. But if your people don't know how to fish for themselves, the burden of new business always falls on you. Ouch, no thanks.
The opportunity we see, teach your team how to generate their own business.
The result, more time and energy back in your day so you can scale sans burnout.
Amplify by Not Nice, Clever is the ace up your sleeve, a hands-on workshop full of replicable frameworks and actionable strategies that your team can put in place right away.
Your job? Sit back and let us work our magic.
Even CEOs need help sometimes. We've got you. Head to our show notes to get the deets. #outsourced.
Can you give us a specific example for an entrepreneur? We got your personal story. Can you give us a specific example for an entrepreneur who is in a tough time right now and needs to tap in and use that type of exercise? Like, what can they use to help them?
That's a really good question. So I have a friend who she had her small business that she had been operating before COVID, and one of her services just got really took off during COVID. And her business grew so fast. It was stressful, a stressful level, because of course she wanted to take all the opportunities that she could.
Right.
And then when COVID ended, like all of that
Plummeted.
money flow, absolutely just
Oh.
fell, the bottom fell out overnight. And she was left with, still vendors to pay and staff
Mm,
to pay and a
mhm,
business to wrap up, you
Right.
know. And she also had a family and she had all of these people in her life relying on her. And to have the bottom fall out very suddenly when you have so many people relying on you, I mean, that's pretty much as hard as it gets.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so in those moments when it's that low and you're feeling the pressure of so much responsibility and so much accountability, to have a resource within yourself where you can say and believe, I can do this hard thing. I know I have the strength in me somewhere to do it. It's not going to be easy, but I have done not easy things before and I've been fine.
Mhm.
I have done hard things before and I have been fine. This is going to be painful for a week or a month or a year, but there is an end. It's not forever and I can do it. I think that's the only thing that gets us through in the end, honestly, when we
Yeah.
boil everything else down. It's that knowledge, that self knowledge, that somewhere in you, you have the strength to do this. And finding some external reminder of your internal strength can help us out of those freeze moments.
Yeah.
Mm.
So good. Thank you.
So powerful. I feel like we have not had a powerful, powerful episode that embodies like manifesting and the power of it truly in a while. Like, this is everything you're saying, Southern California woo woo, whatever.
We love it. We're here for
We
it.
are here for it. And I love the positive spin on it too, because I think in my own research, like one thing that, you read a lot is that like the body keeps the score.
Mm.
And it's always through a negative lens, but it's like now the body can keep and hold the resources and the positivity, right? You can draw on that rather than being triggered by old wounds.
Yeah, it's they call them glimmers. They're the opposite of triggers. It's a glimmer and it's so
Ooh.
I
important.
love
It
that
is the body
word.
keeps the score. It's the exact same
Idea,
thing.
yeah.
But you're right. We focus so much on only the negative component, but everything has an opposite, right?
Law of polarity, yeah.
Yes. I think it's easy for us to focus on the negative experiences because they surprise us. And when we're surprised, we take notice more. We
That's
don't
astute.
so frequently take the time when things are going great to pause and take a moment and say, like, this is a great moment. And when I'm feeling great and I'm feeling happy and I'm feeling peaceful, this is what I feel. I feel my shoulders remove themselves from my ears, you
Unclench your
know?
jaw and just like
Yes.
be. Yeah.
So it's like, this is what my body feels like when it feels happy. This is what my body feels like when it feels strong. And then connecting that to something that can remind us that we have that capacity.
I read an article just this morning, actually, but I've seen it before, but I looked it up this morning because I wanted to share it with a friend. But it's about smiling and how your brain can't tell the difference between like a real smile and a fake smile.
Mm.
And so if you just force yourself to smile for 30 seconds, for a minute, just make yourself smile, your brain's actually going to release chemicals that will literally change your mood.
Mhm.
And, much like working out, like you're going to just feel better energy and better vibes. And we always talk about how you you can't show up with desperate energy because desperate doesn't sell,
Doesn't sell
right?
anywhere, anywhere.
No.
And so even if you're having a rough day, just force yourself to smile, force yourself to go on a walk, force yourself to move your body, and your vibe is going to change and you're going to be more attractive to people.
Yeah.
And you'll likely get out of your own head and connect with people in a more meaningful way. So I love everything you're talking about. Yes to all of this.
All of it. Clever crew approved. Seriously, Mary. This is, see, and Clever crew, before we hopped on, we were telling Mary, like, okay, we have a few questions we always ask, but we always leave room for spontaneity and conversational flow. And this is exactly why, because my favorite moments usually come out of us connecting and being able to share things unexpectedly, but with just such heart. So very grateful. I'm appreciating this moment in real time.
So for small business owners, Mary,
Yes.
like can you give maybe 3 tips that you most often give to small business owners who are looking to grow?
Yes. The first one we've already touched on a little bit. My very first thing is start small to grow.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Most of the business owners I talk to, they're very afraid of, I don't want to take out loans. I don't want to ask my family for too much. I don't want to do, and that's okay. You can still start a business
Yeah.
without doing those things. Just take it to the smallest level. And then, to borrow Candace's wonderful advice, take the next right step. Growth does not always happen from nothing, grows from nothing to an enormous being
Mhm.
overnight. I don't know, maybe mushrooms do. They're very mysterious.
They might be the one exception, yeah.
They might be the one exception. I'll have to
We
research
should
it.
study that. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
Yeah.
get a mushroom expert on.
But it's, start small, take the next right step and grow and give yourself, the other one would be give yourself time. Give
Mm,
yourself time to grow. Give yourself time to grow your business. Think in 1 year, think in 5 years, think in 10 years.
mm.
As long as you're moving forward, you're going to end up with something that you really love. I would say moving forward mindfully.
Yes.
I should
Yeah.
add
Not
that.
just for the sake of this pivot, that pivot, right?
Yes. And I would also say know your strengths. Know your
Mm.
strengths, be it personally or and in business. A lot of time, like don't open a business that does not play to your strengths as a person because you're going to
Sounds
hate it.
so simple.
Yeah.
Seriously, but, like, thank you, Mary,
We had
truly.
to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not, if you're not a people person, sales might not be for you.
Mhm.
Like maybe what you really want to do is design an app or something that you can sell off of a website. Maybe, but if you are gregarious and you have a lot of great ideas and you're an excellent sort of cheerleader for people, coaching is a natural fit.
Mhm.
Play to your strengths, identify what your strengths are, and start there. If what you really want is to just be your own boss and you want to start your own business and you're not sure where to start with your strengths and think about, even on a baseline, what do your friends and family come to you for? Do your friends and family come to you for advice? Do
Mm.
they come to you for your birthday cake recipe? Do they come to you to help them train their dog? What is it that people come to you for? That's a natural strength right there.
Mhm.
If you also happen to enjoy it, there's probably people that will pay you money
Bonus
for it.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good.
So such good advice. Such good advice, Mary. So, Mary, is there something we haven't asked you about yet today that you want to share with the Clever crew here?
Oh my goodness. I've just been loving this conversation. I would only say that I'm loving this group and I love your whole vibe. I love clearly I'm very passionate about small businesses and supporting small businesses and you can definitely find more of small business advice and lots of great small business ideas on fitsmallbusiness.com. We just publish a whole bunch of articles about every type of business idea from business ideas for students, business ideas you can start at home, business ideas you can start with no money.
Love
And
that.
even if you don't end up using one of these business ideas from the list, it will probably help you think of something that you could start as your own business, be your own boss, do your own thing.
Love that. We'll link that in the show notes for the Clever Crew. That's awesome. Okay, now for our favorite part. I don't know if it's our favorite part. There's so many great parts today. So
Oh my
maybe
gosh, today, yes.
who
We're
who,
probably
who
like
can pick a favorite?
tied 3 ways for first, but this is our third favorite
Exactly.
part.
Exactly. These are the rapid fire questions. So let's just dive in, just top of mind. Can't get it wrong. All right. What was your childhood dream job?
I wanted to be an astronaut and a ballerina. It's part-time.
Oh, I love
I
that.
love
Yeah.
that. I wanted to be a ballerina too.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I saw on PBS The Nutcracker
Mm.
with Kelsey Kirkland. I was like, that. And it's kind of like flying, and then there's astronauts.
It
So
all
I
makes
was really
sense.
into it. I thought it was possible.
Totally.
Maybe it is.
Okay, what's your go-to lazy dinner? If you've had a day, you're just having that lazy dinner, what is it?
Baked ziti.
Oh,
Just like,
that's
ugh,
comfort food.
Mm.
Love it.
To a
yes.
T.
I keep the ingredients constantly on hand. And I'm just like, okay, ziti night.
So smart. Hot or iced coffee?
Ooh, I mean, that's a tough one. I love them both equally. I will say, living where I live now in New England, I find myself more hot coffee.
Mm.
Oh, but in California, more iced coffee.
Iced
In
coffee
California,
vibes.
I was like, cafe con leche.
Ooh.
I have
Ooh,
to have it.
yeah.
Although, if it's in the morning, I go for hot coffee. If it's in the afternoon, I'm an iced coffee
Me
person.
too. Me too. Okay. What's your best non-curse word, one word insult?
That's such a good question. Oh my gosh.
You're a writer, so I figure like you have one on deck, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, I'm kind of freezing right now. I'm because I definitely have these
Mhm.
that I say when my toddler's around.
Yeah. I know anytime there's a parent as a guest, we're like, we know you've got a few up your sleeve.
Oh my gosh, what do I say with him? I'm totally blank.
So, for example, I like to say moron. I'm like, don't be
I
a
love
moron,
moron. You're such a moron.
right?
It's like so great because it sounds like what it means.
Mhm.
Yeah. One of our guests, Tiffany, said basic. That's like the most insulting
I
of
feel burned by that already.
right?
Um, I feel like I default to dum dum. I'm like,
Mm.
you're such a dum dum. But I will also, like, with my partner, with my siblings or my best friends, I will use a name of someone that we know mutually that we don't like.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'll be like,
Mhm.
oh, you're
Oh.
being such a George right now.
Mm.
Hopefully George isn't listening.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
You're
I get
really
that. Yep.
Georging that up.
Mm. Oh, you
Yep.
make it a verb
Okay.
too. I love it.
Yeah.
You can make it a verb, it can be an adjective, it can be a noun, all the things. Yeah, that's typically actually my go-to. Is like a name of someone we all know that we're like, "No, you don't wanna be that person."
That's so good.
I love it.
What makes you nervous?
Something new. New things actually make me quite nervous. I have to,
Mm.
like, calm myself down, and if it's like, "Oh,
Yep.
we're gonna do this new place, go to this new place where you don't know anybody and you've never been and you don't know where the bathrooms are." It's like, I don't know. I need a
Yeah.
minute.
Are you an introvert, Mary?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, us too.
Pre-research. We need the pre-research. I need
Mhm.
to look up the Google reviews. I need to check out the menu. I need to GPS it so we take not the crazy back roads, but the most
Yeah.
all the rabbit hole thoughts.
Need to have a plan. Yep. How about your celebrity crush? Do you have a celebrity crush these days?
Oh my
It could
goodness.
be one from the past too. It's okay.
Celebrity crushes are timeless.
My very first celebrity crush ever was Patrick Swayze from Dirty
Oh,
Dancing.
Oh, I get that.
truly timeless. I'm right there with you.
Okay.
Roadhouse for
Yeah,
me, but yeah.
classic.
Mhm.
Mm.
Anyway, okay.
Are you an Amazon girly?
I don't really I mean, I'm kind of like a general store girly at this
Okay.
point.
All right. What's the last thing you bought there?
Oh my gosh, the last thing I bought was I do a lot of online shopping though, just not Amazon. So
Okay.
the last thing I bought actually was, little training pants from Thirsty's
For
diapers
the
for my
baby.
little one.
Yeah.
For the baby.
Yes, he's getting very interested in using the toilet, and I'm like, "Yes, thank you. Let's
Ooh.
do this."
Right.
So
Yeah.
I got him some
Move
little
beyond the
training
diaper
pants.
era.
Yes,
Are you a 2 hour before departure or 2 minute before departure airport kind of girl?
2 hours.
Oh, you and
Absolutely.
Kat.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Most people
I
say
just
2
like want to
minutes.
walk right on the plane, I just want to get through security and walk on.
No, oh, I could never.
Never.
I could never.
Mm-mm. Nope.
I'd be like, listen, I'm just going to take the later flight. Is that okay?
They're like, you could still make it if you put a little pep in your step. You're like, no, thank
No.
you.
Change my ticket.
It's like
Change
no
it.
pep.
No pep in her step. Okay. What would your superpower be? Kat is obsessed with Marvel and anything related to comic books. If you had a superpower, what would yours be?
I would really love like X-ray vision. I really want to see everything. I want to
Ooh.
know where the dangers are
Mm.
or the goodies. It's like, oh, okay, that's
Or
where
the
the candy
goodies.
is. I
Treasure
get
hunt.
it. Yes, that's where they keep the good bourbon.
Oh, bourbon.
So good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm a Buffalo Trace girl. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So where can people hang out with you online?
Yeah, well, you can hang out with me to hear all of my advice on Fit Small Business. We're also on Instagram at Fit Small Business. And our social team does such a good job. I love those girls. They really have fun. And you can find me. I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn for sure.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. Is Facebook still a thing anymore? I'm not really on there very
Still a thing. It's crazy.
But I think that's mostly because of parenting. I'm like, mommy doesn't do social media. I don't know what you're talking about.
Thank you so much for your time today. We had an incredible time with you, and we hope to hang out with you again soon.
Yes, absolutely. It's been my absolute pleasure. And I love the podcast, ladies. I've been recommending it to several siblings.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Thanks for joining us on Not Nice, Clever.
Remember to follow our podcast wherever you listen to audio.
And if you found today's episode valuable, please share it with your friends.
No gatekeeping here. Remember, we love to see our clever crew grow.
Signing off, you're not so nice, but oh so clever besties that mean business.
See you soon.